Leeds 1, Manchester United 1. I'm joined by Stephen Howson. Steve, another 2 points dropped, if you want to look at it like that. 1 point gained in a tricky match. There's a lot of ways you can look at that sort of game. How do you feel after that?
I feel like it's 2 points dropped, but I don't necessarily think there's anybody to blame for that, to be honest with you.
So how can both of those things be true? Talk to me about the sort of avenue that you're on there.
I think the manager got his tactics fine.
Okay.
I think we were both solid, at least in the first half. Leeds had literally nothing for us. And this is a Leeds team that's caused a hell of a lot of teams problems. And I think he made the right changes at the right time. And I don't think there was anything else that we had available that we could have played that would have given us more than what we had. And I don't think any of the players necessarily were at fault. I think there was a collective fault for the goal that we conceded. But I also think that every single player on the pitch did well and cocked up a little bit at times. I don't think there was anyone that was particularly bad. Like, you can put a bit of blame on Heaven for the goal we conceded. You can put a bit of blame on Euro for the pass, which led to the way we conceded. You can put a little bit of blame. It's like a shared blame for the goal. But I thought all of those players still had great moments. Like, the keeper didn't come off his line for the goal, but made big saves in the game. I think even Euro, I know he got hooked for the Xerxes sub, but like, I still thought Euro had good moments in the game where he did things more than what was expected. Like, so I think every single person did their jobs more or less today, and that's why I think it was 2 points dropped. Because it's 2 points dropped for me because I think, not necessarily saying that United did enough to do more. I think a draw is probably a fair result from that, but I still consider it points dropped. Like, there was opportunities to win the game. Again, like, Sesko probably needs to hit the target, but does that mean he was bad or he's at fault for us not winning the game? No. Like, I still think it's 2 points dropped because there's an opportunity there, and I expect United to win every single game, as realistic as that may or may not be.
On to the manager, because obviously everything goes through that filter. The manager is the sort of the gate that you have to go through in order to talk about the players, the ownership, to talk about the result. Everything gets pushed through Ruben Amorim. He's had a bit of a sort of testing week, I would say, in the press. He's I don't want to say lost his head because I don't want to mischaracterise it, but he's clearly feeling a little bit of stress in the circumstances that he's in, which I think is fair enough. Talking before the game, and getting a little bit cryptic, would you say? Maybe sort of infuriated potentially with the questions about United's lack of reinforcements in January. Telling Jamie Jackson, you're a smart guy, about whether that's, yes, I agree with the question, but I can't say it, or, you're trying to be smart with this question and I'm not buying it. Either way, it's a cryptic, not really what you want from your manager in terms of what does he mean, what doesn't he mean. Then after the game today, he's come out again and defended himself. He said, I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to do my job until another guy is coming here to replace me. I'm going to manage this team, not just the coach. That is going to finish in 18 months and then everyone is going to move on. I came here to be the manager. That's in reference, I think, to the fact that his contract runs out in 18 months. He says, I noticed that you received selection information about everything. I came here to be the manager of Man United, not to be the coach. That's clear. I know my name isn't Tuchel, it's not Conte, it's not Mourinho, but I'm the manager of Manchester United. Again, he went on to say, if people cannot handle the Gary Neville and the critics, then we need to change the club. No, guys, I just want to say that I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. Every department, the scouting department, the sporting directors, needs to do their job. It is the words of a man who's clearly feeling the need to defend himself, feeling the pressure of his sort of role being questioned there. What do you make of the sort of news this week and then how he's reacting to it now?
I honestly don't know because I'm only seeing clips of the press conferences. I haven't seen what that was in response to. Or what the rest of the questions were like, because you can have one pretty innocent question, and I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that you can. I've been in press conferences when people see their ass because like we was at one in San Diego where three people asked him if he was enjoying San Diego, Ten Hag if he was enjoying San Diego, and he answered the first one by saying I've not left the hotel yet, and two more people still asked him the same question. So like sometimes a question taken out of context can make it look like a manager's lost his head when actually it's a stupid fucking question. I don't know what that's in relation to. So without seeing it, I couldn't possibly comment. You've also got to think you are dealing with a man that's dealing with this in his second language, at least. So I didn't like the one yesterday that I saw where he was just no commenting, shutting everything down, which is weird for a guy that usually answers candidly. That may have been what has happened today, where he's answered a bit candidly for stuff. It may have been someone that's just fed up of answering bollocks questions from journalists. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I couldn't sit here and tell you what's happened because I don't know.
I think for me, obviously, I know we're getting your reaction. I do think it's hard when you're someone that's established yourself as a bit of an open book, almost overly honest at times. Then when things aren't going well, that typically means you have to be negative and you have to talk about how bad things are. And I think he has got to a point where that negativity and criticism is now being turned on him, and he thinks that to be open and to be genuine about it, maybe he has to criticise himself or his lack of understanding, because the question was about why did it take you 12 months basically to realise that 3 at the back was going to cost too much and be too difficult to implement. And I think, to be open about that is probably to admit your own weaknesses, and maybe he didn't want to do that. Like I said, today I need to see the full thing myself as well. Just on the pitch then, back to the pitch. Who impressed you today? Who did you think was up for the game? Because I was worried before the game that United were going to get sort of bodied and maybe not out-qualitied, but outworked and out-physicalited. That didn't really happen. Do you think Leeds let themselves down, or do you think United put up a bit more of a fight than some people were expecting?
I think they put up a real good fight, to be honest with you. And I thought the first half an hour of the game, it was fucking frantic. Like nobody could get a foothold in the game, us or them, because it was carnage. And I thought United weathered that early storm really well, because even though it was carnage, we didn't really get rattled in that time either. And I thought we actually had chances to go in front. A couple of chances that we could have took and gone in front in that first half an hour or so. I thought we weathered that real nice. And that's why I think the manager got his tactics right. Okay, we didn't have a hell of a lot going forward, and it was a hell of a lot of defenders that were on the pitch, but maybe the right idea was to weather that storm and bring Xerxes on a little bit later, and that because that is basically our only card about outside of a teenager to bring on where you might be able to push on and try and win the game. And he didn't make a centre-half sub, apart from taking one off today. So that's a positive on what we were talking about on the podcast, where I was like, play with a little bit of risk. He did play with a little bit of risk, because as Leeds was putting forwards on, we was putting forwards on, albeit one forward. But that was all we had, essentially. So I can't really criticise him in that sense. And we just don't have a squad that's capable of doing more than that at the moment. The worrying thing is we're only on one game a week. And there's a few injuries at the moment. It is only a few. Mason Mount possibly should have been aware of that prior to this season. That's who he is. Bruno, that's a rarity, and I think he might be close to fitness, or at least recovering-ish.
Amorim hinted that Bruno and Mount might be back for the Burnley game.
Okay, that's a bonus.
So that they both could be, yeah.
I think both of them probably need managing, though. Muscle injuries don't just fix and you're good to go 90 minutes every single week for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
De Ligt has been a miss. I could see that back three being fantastic in a De Ligt Martinez heaven combo. I think you've got 3 great players there that could really play this system, and backups for it as well. I think Mbeumo, Ahmad, especially, but Mazraoui as well, all coming back would be very welcome. And Bruno coming back, very welcome. But I still think we need more. I think we need... do you know what? Actually, I've been critical of Dorgu at times this season, and I think against low blocks he ain't the answer, but I think when there's a little bit of space to run into, he looks good. And one thing I can absolutely give him credit for is he don't take a backward step against anybody. He's
Yeah,
an absolute bulldog.
yeah.
I think
Especially
Martinez
in
was good
games like
today.
that.
Heaven was
Yeah,
good today. Man of the match for me, I agree with what they said on commentary. It was Cunha. Like at times you might think he's doing too much or he looks like he's too arsed. Give me that over players who don't look arsed all day
yeah.
long.
Yeah, I think he played well. I thought it was good. Like I said, I thought Martinez was very good. And you see the quality when he comes back in, don't you? The touches, the little fakes and dummies, and then the balls through the lines, just calm and composed on the ball at all times. Not sort of in reference necessarily to this pressure the manager's under in press conferences and all that. There's obviously loads of United fans. You yourself were struggling to see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel for United. I'm sure that hasn't probably changed too much in terms of Amorim. Did you think that he did the right things today? I know you've said you thought it was a bit braver and that sort of thing, but was this a performance where you go, actually, okay, you've gone to Leeds, it's not easy, but you've done what you could with the team in front of you?
Yeah, it was better than what we've seen the last few weeks. He didn't try and protect anything.
Yeah,
At half time it didn't look like things changed. I don't think we necessarily started the half great. But the second that Leeds scored, he changed it. And within seconds of him changing it, we're back on level terms. And I don't think at any point he accepted the draw. I think he was trying to find a way to win the game. And that's what you're supposed to do as United manager. So I'm happy he did that because that's annoyed me the last few weeks.
yeah,
Is that we've not looked like we've done that. We've almost looked like we've gone, okay, that's enough. And this United team, I think we're better when we're pushing forward. I think we actually look competent and dangerous and exciting. We've got to remember that half of the job of this is results, right? That's the vast majority of what you're supposed to do is results. But second to that is be entertaining. This is a pastime. This is, a change of pace for people. It is leisure time for people. If you make it entertaining, you can get forgiven. Now, results do come first. You can't just be entertaining and lose. You can't be entertaining and draw 4-4 home to Bournemouth. You don't really get a lot of credit in the bank for that. But if by and large you're winning and you're entertaining, people will forgive you for dropping points occasionally if it's entertaining. If you fucking toss it off and try and protect 1-0 leads and don't get it, people see their ass with that far quicker and are far less forgiving than they do if you're getting results and being entertaining. And I think actually you get results with this team by being entertaining because I think this team wants to attack. I think the people in this team want to go forward. Even our defenders want to play it forward. Like fucking Lisandro Martinez ain't the kind of guy that wants to sit and protect Leeds. He wants to play the ball forward. I think it suits every single person in the team. Even Agate, you would call him a destroyer if you was trying to think of a word that sums him up. But he wants to be front foot destroyer. He doesn't want to be back foot defending a lead destroyer. He wants to be fucking pressing people on the edge of their box level of destroyer. It's not orthodox, but that's what he wants to do. Same with Casemiro. Casemiro's not, Kante in any fucking stretch of the imagination. He wants to be doing stuff going forward. This team is front foot aggressive. Let it fucking be front foot aggressive and you might surprise yourself with what you get. Not today. Okay, we've dropped 2 points, I think, again. And people are fine to disagree with me and say, no, that's a good point away at Leeds. And you might think that, but I'm just looking at, like I said to you yesterday on the podcast, you talk about, we're only 3 points off fucking third or whatever it is. Yeah, cool, but we're only 3 points off 12th at the same time as well. And when you drop 2 points like we did today, because I know everyone I don't know if everyone else looks at league table and adds it up in threes, because that's what all I do. But when you look at where you are, you start seeing all those teams around you. If they pick up wins, we're behind them. Behind a lot of teams because it's so tight where we are. Like, you have to be winning. And when you've dropped the points, like, look, if you'd have beaten West Ham and you'd have beaten Everton and you'd have beaten Bournemouth and you'd have beaten Wolves, it is a good point away at Leeds. But we didn't, so it ain't.
I was just going to move on to that, looking forward a little bit. I feel like draws are often defined by the results around them, whereas wins and losses are defined in the moment. If we go and beat Burnley and then we beat Brighton in the Cup, you can almost look back at this and say that was the start of a whatever. But like you said, because it's come at the end of this run of dropping points that we shouldn't have dropped, especially home games, you end up looking at it and saying it's not enough. And I think that is fair enough. Just on those next 2 games, I feel as though we're a real sort of I know we've been saying this for a while, but you get to the second half of the season, you get to the point where the owners and leadership actually have to make the decision about the manager. It stops being in the future and it starts being, these conversations are going to start taking place in February, March. Away at Burnley, at home against Brighton in the FA Cup. 2 good results there for me. Again, it's so tight, probably puts you up into 5th. Again, but you're not getting points in the FA Cup game, but beating Burnley probably does that. And through to the next round of the Cup in a tricky tie. 2 bad results, out of the Cup and no win against Burnley. I think these 2 games are absolutely massive for Amorim. In a season of massive games, these 2 I think might define it. Do you agree?
They might not define it, but they might put you on a road that you can't turn around on.
Yeah.
Oh, mind you, the problem is you can always turn around a positive.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the problem. You can always turn around. You can go on 3 or 4 winning games, but then if you repeat that by losing the same, it does turn around. Whereas actually, negative results don't 180 if you get positive results after them because of the progress and or not that you have in the league. So yeah, unfortunately, Manchester United manager, there's pressure on you at all times. Look, I remember Sir Alex Ferguson after winning a fucking treble, people wanted him gone still in the and wanted Sven-Göran Eriksson. When Arsenal drew their way to a title and when Mourinho first came to England, people was like, Fergie's a dinosaur, he'll never fucking turn it around. Like you got to get a new. You had Rafa Benitez and Jose Mourinho and people wanted Sven and Wenger had just fucking lost 6 times in a season, won 1 trophy, and decided to call themselves invincible. Like, you had all of these so-called modern managers, and people wanted Fergie gone. So if nothing else to illustrate that, pressure does not fucking go away when you're a Manchester United manager, ever.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of like, oh, well, if he wins a league, the pressure's off. No, it ain't. Fergie had won 7, 8 by that time. And was still under pressure, and people were still thinking, moving on is a fucking dinosaur. Not weekly, and certainly weren't protesting the ground like we were with Arsenal and their greatest ever manager, because we got a little bit more class than that. But people did write articles, and people were saying maybe it's time that he moves on or moves upstairs, I think was the word that was used quite frequently with Fergie. I think that's the game. There's pressure on always. But right now, the facts are Ruben Amorim is statistically the worst manager we've ever had in the Premier League. Now that might end up changing if, I think you said it at the start of the season, let's just see through someone's team to completion rather than this isn't working, toss it off after 2 years. Maybe we do need to push through the uncomfortable part of a rebuild into someone's sort of final form or getting close to a final form of their team before we make that decision. And if anyone's going to do it, it'll be Ineos with this manager because he is their sort of first bet. So this is the one that probably gets the most rope. But he's going to need players. There's nothing transforms a team like signings. People can talk about tactics and they can talk about youth development and they can talk about all those sorts of things. Class of 92 weren't going to be shit if it wasn't for Eric Cantona signing. That great Fergie team of 2008, it had some fucking wonderful homegrown players in there that had been there for a long time. But if you hadn't assigned Rooney, you hadn't assigned Rio, and you hadn't assigned Vidic, and you hadn't assigned Evra, and you hadn't assigned fucking Owen Hargreaves, Michael Carrick, Ronaldo and Tevez, you weren't winning fuck all. John O'Shea and Wes Brown were fucking good, and Giggs and Scholes were great servants of the club at that point, but they weren't doing dick if it weren't for the signings that was around them. So you've got to bring in some signings, and this team desperately fucking needs some signings that are going to hit the ground running. And I think that Ineos have had some great signings. And the jury might be out on Sesko, but he's been here 6 fucking months and he's been injured for half of it. I'm not overly concerned, and for all the people that want to fucking because there's been I've seen them already comments because I think fucking Højlund might have scored in the fucking Tin Pot League again. People want to start saying we got rid of Højlund's shit, right? Let's have it right. Højlund is fucking shit, and even if he's scoring more goals than Sesko, his all-round play is not even close to being comparable to him. Sesko's still getting more shots off and still having a bigger contribution to United's all-round play than Højlund ever did. So, I don't care what you score in other leagues. You have to score in the Premier League, and Højlund couldn't. I think give Sesko a little bit of time. Give him the rest of the team around him. He's missed a couple of decent chances today. Fair play. But he had the shots, and he was in the right place to get the shots. And Højlund never was. So let's have a bit of fucking reality and truth about where we are with our striker. He needs to be doing better. He needs to start scoring some goals. But he's better than what we had by a fucking long shot.
Right. Thank you very much, T. Thank you for joining us at home as well. Leeds 1, Manchester United 1. Get your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see you in a bit.